ashes speak where silence grows. Through me now the current flows. What is not mine, leave and sever. Bound to me shall linger never. Animum expient is a spellcraft rite of purification and release. An exorcism working not solely focused on banishment of external forces, but on the restoration of internal sovereignty. In its deepest interpretation, it is not a battle against darkness, but a clearing of distortion, fragmentation, and intrusive influence, so that the practitioner may return to a state of centered awareness. In mystical tradition, exorcism is often misunderstood as confrontation. In advanced spellcraft, however, it is more accurately described as realignment. Anything that disturbs the field of consciousness, whether perceived as external presence, thought form, emotional residue, or psychological echo, is addressed through separation, clarification, and release. Animum expient begins with recognition. The practitioner does not immediately resist what is felt. Instead, there is observation. What feels heavy? What feels foreign to the inner sense of self? What thoughts repeat without origin? What emotions persist without clear cause? This phase is not fear-driven. It is diagnostic in nature, like a quiet mapping of internal space. Only what is identified can be released. The ritual space is then established. In traditional framing, this is not merely symbolic. It is containment of attention. The practitioner defines a boundary of awareness, creating a field of focus where inner clarity is prioritized over external interference. This may be visualized as a circle of light, a sphere of stillness, or simply the felt sense of mental enclosure. Within this space, grounding is essential. The body is acknowledged as anchor. Breath is slowed until thought no longer feels scattered. This step is critical, as exorcistic work without grounding is considered unstable in esoteric systems. Then the separation begins. Not forceful expulsion, but disengagement. The practitioner begins to mentally distinguish between self and not self. Thoughts are observed as passing phenomena rather than identity. Emotions are allowed to move without attachment. Any intrusive pattern is labeled not as enemy, but as foreign resonance, something that does not belong to the core of identity. Exi anima, quod non est meum. Return to silence, break the seam. No hold, no claim, no root in me. I stand released, and now I see. In some traditions, breath becomes the primary tool of release. Exhalation is imagined as expulsion, not of forceful aggression, but of gentle unbinding. With each breath out, distortion loosens. With each breath in, clarity returns. This cycle continues until internal tension begins to dissolve. Advanced interpretations of animum expient emphasize that what is being exorcised is not always external influence. Often it is residual emotional imprint, trauma echo, obsessive thought loops, or energetic identification with fear. The rite becomes a process of psychological and spiritual disentanglement. A second phase may involve symbolic naming. Whatever is perceived as disruptive is acknowledged, not to empower it, but to define its boundary. In mystical systems, naming is a form of containment through awareness. What is vague becomes finite. What is undefined loses its ability to expand uncontrollably. The practitioner may internally affirm, "This is not me. This is passing through. This is not my center." At this stage, the sense of presence begins to shift. Heaviness may lighten, mental noise may reduce, emotional intensity may soften. The goal is not emptiness, but restored coherence. Yet caution is paramount. Animum expient is not suppression. Suppression binds energy and forces it underground. True exorcistic work releases through recognition and separation, not denial. What is ignored returns. What is acknowledged and released dissolves. In deeper esoteric interpretation, the practitioner is not a battleground, but a threshold. Nothing owns the space unless it is allowed through unawareness or fragmentation. Thus, sovereignty is restored not through conflict, but through clarity of identity. A closing stabilization is essential. Once release is complete, the practitioner does not immediately disengage. Instead, grounding is reinforced. The body is felt fully. Breath returns to natural rhythm. Awareness is brought back into ordinary reality, ensuring integration of the shift. Non sum fractus, non sum vinctus, in luce mea sum distinctus. What is not mine fades from sight. I remain whole in grounded light. Animum expient, in its truest form, is not an act of expulsion alone. It is an act of restoration. It teaches that clarity is not achieved by fighting shadows, but by strengthening the awareness that recognizes what does not belong. And in that recognition, the self becomes quiet, stable, and unshaken, no longer divided, no longer obscured, but fully returned to its own center.